This is a Hot Pie Original.
Well, the good news is the show's been saved or about to be saved. I think it's noticeable what happens when she walks in the studio. Everything just calms down. It really is as if somebody got the harp out and said, settle down, get yourself together, you nutcases. It's time to have some common sense. Just calm down.
And drink.
And drink. Or drink and calm down. It's just, I can feel it. I can feel it like it's just soothing already. All the edge is taken off. It's just drinking and some bad music in the background. She's back by popular demand, partially because we want to drink in the morning, but mostly because everyone wants to see her and talk to her, and she matters more than anything else in this show right now, because wine matters more than anything else right now. Nothing else really matters but wine at this point. She is Daniela da Suta. Get it right. She's a wine educator, and she's come with supplies. And then once she has finished lecturing us on what it is we're about to drink and why, then we'll take questions. But you do want to tell people what it means that you're a wine educator and why you know what you're talking about and not some hack like me.
Sure. So thank you again for having me.
You like the introduction? Do you feel like the room is calmer already when you walked in?
I feel very important right now, and I feel like I have to live up to that importance. So I'm going to keep drinking my wine and hopefully say some wonderful things.
Sure.
So I am a wine educator. I think I like that term the best, trying to figure out what I do. I also sell really great organic and biodynamic wines, so things that don't have pesticides in them, but I like to educate people the most. I think that's my favorite thing. I was raised on a Texas vineyard, so I do have a viticultural background, and then I found that education, really explaining wine, breaking it down, was my jam and continues to be. I've been an educator for about 6 or 7 years now, and I think it's the reason I get up in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we doing?
We're drinking rosé this morning, and I'm going to keep bringing in these really great brunch wines.
Brunch wines?
Yeah, brunch wines are going to be those food-friendly, lighter styles.
Right.
You can put a chill on them. You can hang out with your friends. You start day drinking. You don't want to start out with something big and bold and heavy. You want something pretty crisp and food-friendly. Really great with waffles.
I'm sorry, what?
with waffles or chicken and waffles, I would say. Or
We think they have this at IHOP?
Yeah, I'm thinking about a really
that
great
pork
brunch.
chop platter with the waffles that they have there. That's about 4,000 calories. You mean that one?
Hey, I wouldn't mind that either.
Yeah, okay.
Let's order it.
So rosé.
Yeah, so
Day
rosé. There's a huge rosé trend within the last 10 years, specifically for dry rosé.
Okay.
People were really turned off about things like White Zinfandel taking over the market. There were millions of cases of that sold per year, and people didn't trust rosé. It wasn't until the French, actually from Provence, the region in southern France, they popularized it. They wanted this dry style to dominate, and now that's what everyone has, for the most part, switched to. And these wines are awesome. I mean, think about a cross between a red and a white. That's what you're getting, for lack of a more sophisticated term. But I think these wines have a place on every single dinner table because you're marrying those two styles. And I always recommend either rosé or sparkling for that pairable wine. And it's a great pool wine, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, so is this the ticket now going forward while it's 100 degrees? I mean, even early evening?
Yeah, that or white or sparkling, or if you have to have a red, lighter styles of red like Pinot Noir, put a slight chill on them. I know you want to drink your cabs
Just want to have my dessert
all the time.
I want it to be my dessert.
I know you do, and most Texans do. But I have to say, when it's over 100 degrees, I mean, those heat up really quickly. And biologically, what's really interesting is that the tannins and the alcohol come out when the wine is hotter. So it actually makes them seem worse.
talk briefly about chilling wine. And I even feel like a jerk when I say this needs to be chilled.
I don't think you should.
I know. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
I think people, I don't think you can address this. I'm not quite sure we're served wine, even when we think we're in a good place for wine. I'm not quite sure we're served wine properly. It's probably not chilled properly.
You're not.
And then we are uncomfortable saying, God, man, it's a little warm.
I know.
Across the board, because I think most of us think, oh, well, the cab or whatever, you can't chill it. But explain that, especially this time of year.
Well, this information that I'm about to give you is coming from me, and I've studied this for a long period of time. So I really want you to embrace this and then start modifying your habits, because you should never feel embarrassed to want something the way you want it. Even if you want your cab chilled in the fridge I don't really care how you want your wine, as long as you want it in a specific way and you're getting it and you're appreciating it. I'm just going to give you guidelines. Okay. So, for instance, you're talking about if you're being served at a restaurant, correct?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that first. So, whites and rosés and sparkling wines. We're heading into, Texas, it's summer 6 months out of the year. You're going to need an ice bucket. You're just going to need one, or a
Take
chiller.
One with you, like just a little cooler.
No.
Like
they have them at the
bag.
restaurant. Anybody who serves bottles of wine will have ice buckets. And if they don't, I don't know what they're doing. They need an ice bucket or they need a chiller. They need to put it on your table, they need to put it in. Because once it sits out, like even this tiny little sip of rosé that we had, it's going to go up to room temperature very, very quickly. And to not have a chiller, it's not fun. And second thing, with reds, it's really nice to serve them at around 55, 60 degrees. And there's no way, think about that red sitting in the hot sun. Say it's even 80 or 90 degrees. That red is going to start warming up to higher than room temperature, and it's going to start tasting worse and worse.
Yeah.
No shame in asking for an ice bucket for that too, even if it wasn't chilled in the first place, just so it stays at room temperature a little bit below.
And it's not a goofy thing to do at home,
No.
to take that glass and just stick it in the refrigerator.
No, I don't think so. I think that there's a point where red gets too cold and it doesn't taste good. Then the acid tannin comes out too, and you can't taste any fruit.
Right.
Then don't chill it down to 30 degrees, but around 50, I think is great.
56?
56.5.
Okay,
too.
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. What about dropping an ice cube in there?
Oh.
Uh-oh. Shoot.
I think that wine should be consumed the way that you want it.
Okay.
I know many people who stick ice cubes in and then apologize to me in front of my face when they do it. And to me, please stop apologizing for the way you drink wine.
Yeah, there's
such a
you've got confidence. The rest of us, because of the stigma with wine, boy, we better know what we're doing. We feel like this judgment zone.
I know.
And I think that's pretty common across the board. And I think you're trying like crazy to say, stop the judgment zone.
Stop apologizing. There was a really great article in the New York Times that talked about the apology culture and the shame culture around wine. And I'm here to tell you, start having confidence in the way you drink wine. Wine is alcohol. It's meant to be consumed. There's pleasure in it. There should be just total joy in drinking that without shame. Why would you feel ashamed to order a beverage? That's so sad to me. And I get why. I've been around those dicks who just are totally out of line whenever they're describing and really do belittle people. I know where it comes from. However, there's no judgment. So back to the ice cube thing.
Okay.
Ice cubes will water down your wine.
Yeah.
We know this. And if you have something really high quality, I just don't recommend it. However, I have two options for you. Number one is to buy wines that are specifically meant for ice cubes to be put in them. There are actually a few.
Wow.
Moet and Chandon is doing a sparkling. Like, how crazy is that? It's meant to be consumed over ice. I think it's called Moet Ice.
Okay.
So very makes a lot of sense. And then the second thing is, instead of an ice cube, if you want to keep it cold, there are those metallic ice cubes or those rock. Have you seen those for whiskey? do that instead. And then
Yeah.
your wine is fine and it's not
Okay.
being watered down.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what are we having here? And explain the concept of what you twirling things around and what's behind that.
So we have a gorgeous rosé. I sell this wine, and it is French rosé from the Loire Valley region in France. And it is, I believe, again, 100% Pinot Noir. I think I brought a Pinot Noir sparkling last week. I don't know what my obsession is, but this wine is so gorgeous. And the reason why I'm swirling it is to release those volatile aromas. There are actual compounds that if you swirl, you aerate it. It helps to force aerate, and then those beautiful aromas actually travel up the length of this narrow glass up into your nose. Once you get really into wine, part of the pleasure in wine is smelling it first. And it's not just taking it and then taking a big old drink, it's sniffing it. And I really think that this wine in particular...
What about putting your whole face in there?
Do it.
Do it,
Just
right?
put your entire
Like
face
head
as
in there.
much as you...
Yeah.
Yeah. I think... I don't know.
Flowers?
I find...
Get some
Yes,
flowers.
good. Yeah.
I get
There's
some flowers. What is that?
there's like...
I know nothing about flowers, and I get flowers.
Good. It's very floral. Look at you.
Yeah.
It's just osmosis, really.
Yeah, I know. I'm just, whatever you say, I just sort of pick up
No,
like
it's
30 seconds
great.
later, I just say the same thing.
It's great.
Yeah.
It
Nice.
smells like, flower, like honeysuckle. It smells like watermelon rind. Like, I think of the summertime and you're you're eating watermelon. It smells like that to me.
So this, even at 7:30 tonight, somebody having whatever, this works, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, rosé all year round, really, to me. I think this is great. And if you're like, man, I don't know whether I should serve a red or a white, well, guess what? I got a really great
Yeah.
meeting point here.
So any guy out there that's a little concerned, again, in that judgment zone, he sits up there, rosé, on a date, rosé. Is that okay?
He needs to think of one word. Ready?
No, yeah, probably.
Brosé. Bros should drink rosé. Hashtag brosé here. Yeah, I know.
Are we sure you're on a date and he says that? Is that okay?
I want to drink
like
a
that-
rosé.
Yeah.
If any,
And he says brosé.
no,
you leave.
don't have him
You
drink.
leave.
Don't have him. Don't
You
have him
get up
actually
and leave.
say
He
it.
says brosé.
No, but dudes should drink pink wine too. And I think that if any woman is going to judge you on your drink choice, when it comes to wine, then she's not worth dating.
Okay.
If you can't drink pink wine, I mean, I think she's going to love you even more if you're splitting a bottle of rosé with her.
Okay.
That's a great
yeah,
dude
just-
right there.
Okay. Just want to get over that hump there. I just want to
Yeah,
clarify.
there shouldn't be a stigma about pink beverages. And in fact, you can regale her with your knowledge about how rosé could be the most parable, and then you've redeemed yourself in
Yeah.
the knowledge category, right?
Yeah.
Like now you're a source of knowledge.
So on the Bumble profile, you put enjoy pink wines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rosé lover. And in fact, okay, so I met my fiance on Tinder
Okay.
before Tinder was
Before it was.
a total hookup app. Like it was starting to get there. This was years ago. Okay, relax.
So this is after you
But-
sifted through the 12,000 naked selfies?
Actually, he was my second
Or was he a
date
naked selfie?
that I went on. I met him on the second day and I deleted my app within 1 week. Like I got
this is
very,
beautiful.
very lucky. But the thing is
Was it a
that I have
was it a
some
selfie? Did you have a shirtless selfie?
No, trust me, scroll past
I know.
all
Okay.
those dudes. And yeah, that was a definite, like, please, dudes, don't put shirtless selfies or any selfies, actually, for that
Yeah.
matter. But yeah, so I put on my profile that I was into wine. And I had, of course, all my profile pictures, or a lot of them were drinking wine. And he said his first thing to me was, his first message was, how many glasses of wine would it take for you to go on a date with me? And I was
look at
like,
that.
that's
My
so, okay, I feel you. And
Good for him.
I have to say that for dating, knowing about wine, beer, or spirits is so sexy. And
Yeah.
like, it's such a turn on. And I have some dating advice. Are you ready? This worked for me every time.
Okay.
I would get a really big when I was single, I'd get a really big wine book. Actually, the Oxford Companion to Wine says wine on it in really huge letters. And I would position it on a table in a coffee shop in an area where I might want to date somebody, not in a crappy coffee shop, but in a nice one. And I would position the book outwards, and then I'd be on my laptop with no headphones or anything, or I'd be reading something else, but the wine book would be positioned for the world to see. And the amount of people that talked to me, and there were women too. There were so many people. It didn't matter. It wasn't like I was necessarily trying to get a date, but I would talk to so many people because they'd be like, do you know about wine? Are you studying wine? Yeah. And so you do the same thing. There's beer books like that. There's spirits books, whiskey books. You could really, for women too, I highly recommend for women.
Set it there is like, it's like a filter. It's losers, the meathead is not going to come near me with a wine book there. Is that what you're trying to say?
It's more of a talking point. Like it allows...
You're trying to get rid of the meatheads.
Yeah, but yes. But also it's really nice for somebody to have a jumping off point if they're looking over like, okay, he or she is attractive. Like what could I possibly say without sounding creepy? And then the next point of conversation is, it works so well.
Nice. Okay, unless you're looking for a meathead. Then it's like, what are you talking about, malt liquor or something? Or some like spray tanning? What do you do?
Go to Dirty Six, then just hang out there.
So this is what? This is just a rosé?
Yeah. It's not just a rosé.
Sorry,
it's a delicious rosé.
Delicious. Okay, I suck.
I think most rosés have just a lot of fruit. And what I like about this one is just what you said. It has some flowers. It has some other fun things happening here. I smell a little bit of like peach yogurt. It just, it hits the spot for me because so many people are producing mediocre rosés that just suck. And they are great for pounding, but they're not great for... really contemplating.
So you're sort of go to, are you saying French rosés is kind of a good default
If you
place?
Want dry, you'll know that they're dry from France. Yes,
okay.
You'll have the confidence. And then most other rosé, if it says blush, it has some residual sugar.
Okay. Do you want to do any of these 7,000 questions?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to read them?
At least the responses to you are just fast. It's nice for me because they're calm and thoughtful. Mine are just F you. Like 700 times F you.
What are you saying that's provoking such anger?
a lot.
I'm here to talk about wine.
So this says, can you expand a bit on the wine industry's concerns regarding...
and in response to climate change.
Yeah.
And specifically the 6 new...
I hate to be completely ignorant. Okay. Is that a thing? Is there somebody no, I got that. Is there somebody really pissed off at the wine business?
No, what he's asking about is the fact that France is reacting to climate change faster than we are.
Okay.
So for instance, and I'll make this as in layman's terms as much as I possibly can, but France has a very established wine region in which many grape varieties are historically planted, and you can't really change that up that much. So for instance, Burgundy, you're going to find Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Bordeaux, you're going to find Cabernet and Merlot, amongst other things. But what France is doing that the other parts of the world, particularly us and the New World, is they are starting to plant new varieties, like even in Bordeaux that the article's talking about. They're port varieties that grow well in hotter regions, which is a massive nod to the change in climate.
Okay,
it's
I see.
Like I can't explain to you how huge that decision is because the French wine laws aren't easily changed. Is the industry concerned? Yes. And can we expand a bit about that? Other regions are following suit, and I just hope that we start doing that as well and start thinking about the future and might be a future in which California Chardonnay can no longer grow and it has to be a warmer climate grape. So this is very serious, and I will leave it at that.
Okay. I like a good Merlot, he writes. What is a good one for under 20 bucks? Is it under
50.
$50 bucks? I'm not going to wear my $6 glasses because you'll make fun of me.
I can see. So
Yeah.
50. Well, Stanley,
50?
$50. That's a big budget. I like that. I like this guy.
Yeah, but that's,
Let's hang
you
out,
don't
Stanley.
have to even go anywhere near 50. You said last time you were on, right?
I'm going to give 2 examples.
Okay.
One's around 20 and one is a little bit higher. How's that?
Okay.
And it's hard for me to recommend any specific wine, not knowing where people are. So I'm
Yeah.
going to try to recommend something that's more accessible. So number one, I love Washington Merlot. So anything from Walla Walla is really great. I find that there's one that's called Seven Hills that is around 20 bucks. And I serve it in my classes every single time. In fact, a friend of mine actually drank an entire bottle on my couch and fell asleep. He loved it so much. So there's that one. And there's also,
Wait a minute.
yeah.
What does Mr. Wine Expert say? Like, is it with him?
No, it was a friend of mine.
Okay. Okay. Keep going.
And then the second one would be Trefethen. I think
Yeah.
Trefethen is great.
I've seen that.
And they're upwards of like 40. Their Merlot is decent. I've done presentations with them and they're just good quality all around.
Why would somebody want a Merlot over a Cab, over a Pinot?
Merlot is the great variety that people don't know they want, but they do. It's softer than Cabernet. It has less of that dryness, astringency.
Yeah.
It's more fruity sometimes in the sense that you get more chocolate covered cherry. It's inherently delicious and it just gets a bad name because Merlot is easier to propagate than Cabernet. So it's easier to make crappy wine out of it. And the bulk loads of crappy wine are ruining that perception.
I explain a lot of my drinking by it replaces dessert. Is that what you're talking about with Merlot? That I don't eat sweets.
Yeah.
And so I want a bunch of flavor when it's time to have wine. Usually at night.
Yeah.
Day's been from hell. Kids have gone crazy. I don't want to eat. I'm not going to eat dessert. I just don't do that. So I need a lot of flavor. Is that what Merlot is? That's how I end up on those cabs that you make fun of.
Yeah, I think
what's
you
wrong
like
with you?
strongly flavored wines.
Yeah, and I think part of it, my defense is that I want some. It's late. I want some dessert. I don't want to go and have some ice cream. I want to drink my dessert.
And that's great. And that's perfect. And that makes
I feel
perfect
judged.
sense. I'm not judging
I know.
at all.
I'm just paranoid about that explanation.
I
can tell.
You gotta
I
stop
know, I know.
apologizing. There's no judgment coming from me. I don't judge.
I know. Okay.
You feeling that?
Is that? Yeah, I do. I do
Okay.
feel it.
Good.
I'm not going to carry it with me. I don't know how I'll carry it forward, but I feel it. So is that an explanation of Merlot, kind of? Because I know nothing about
I think
Merlots,
Merlot
and I'm not even going to try.
can be your end of the night wine, and it also could be really good with food. I think there are French Merlots that are very food friendly that should be looked for.
Yeah. Here you go. I'm a Sauvignon Blanc drinker in the summer. Recently, I've been getting headaches.
From Sauvignon Blanc that I haven't gotten. Yeah. Todd, where are you drinking these Sauvignon Blancs from and how much are you paying for them?
You're about to talk trash.
No,
Go
I'm
ahead.
about to
Do
spit
it.
truth.
Oh, okay.
So Sauvignon Blanc is, as I said last week, one of the most famous categories of white wine right now. It has replaced Chardonnay in popularity because it is the antithesis of Chardonnay. It's crisp. It's very aromatic. And so there's a lot of bulk wine out on the market. There's a lot of mass-produced wine, I should say. What happens with mass-produced wine is in order to make it consistent year after year, you're adding sugar.
Okay.
And I've personally had glasses of bulk New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc because I couldn't find anything else on the menu that I wanted, and I got a headache instantly after one glass.
Okay.
So I would really start looking at where you're drinking. I'm not going to name names and brands because that's uncool. And I am not an expert on their winemaking practices, but what I have found is the high glycerin content. I mean, it's to make those wines taste better so that you'll keep going back for them. It's not to say you can't drink Sauvignon Blanc, but look for something maybe higher priced, sadly to say, or something that is not as mass produced.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I could literally
So he just
talk
needs-
about that forever.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people probably say this. You just gave an explanation why it is. So it's kind of, he's
Generic
He's having junk
wines.
food.
Yeah, I get wine headache
It's
questions.
making him feel terrible.
Every single time. It's like, why do I have a headache? Why
And
do I
the
have
fundamental
a headache?
explanation to most wine headache questions is what?
Sugar, added additives. We have a thing in the wine industry for red wines. It's called purple haze. And purple haze is concentrated grape juice that's been boiled down and the sugars are really high. And to add the perception of body, color, and sweetness, or just as fruitiness, they add these things. And these aren't great for you. They're not going to make you feel good. They're going to make you feel sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does he know not to make that mistake?
As I
Just
said,
upgrade price?
general rule of thumb is if you can identify a brand everywhere, if you're like, this is a
Okay,
bulk
yeah.
brand and I've seen this everywhere, chances are millions of cases of that wine are produced. There's no vintage variation. It's a recipe at that point, trying to make it change the same year after year. And I hope I'm not going to get sued for this.
No, you didn't name names.
I didn't name names.
No, I think that was perfectly reasonable. So, what are your thoughts on Texas wines and Fredericksburg? Well, that's a loaded question because you're a kid that grew up on.
Yeah, I grew up on a Texas winery, and we've been part of the industry for 13 years. I love Texas wines when they're done correctly.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of experimentation that's happening in this industry, which is very typical and normal in a budding wine region. That being said, there's many that are flawed and there are many that are perfectly sound and great. And I love to support those people that are making great wines consistently.
What grape do we do well?
Oh, I know. That's a hard question
Yeah, I mean, I
because we
don't-
grow every single thing under
Yeah.
the sun. We need hot.
Is there a go-to? You say, you know what,
Climate.
Texas, I can
Yeah.
trust a Texas wine because it's in this great varietal.
I'm not going to say that because it's so producer driven. I've seen consistency across certain varieties that I'll tell you about. The first one, if it's a white, it's Viognier. I think we do Viognier very well here. And that is a French grape from France. I mean, from the Rhone Valley. And then the second one, I think we do well. I think we do Portuguese varieties very well because they're so accustomed to the heat. We plant like Torriga Nacional. We've got a number of different things that nobody's ever heard of. Tempranillo is one of those things. I don't like Texas Tempranillo as much as I want to, and that's our claim to fame in the state. That being said, I have had decent Tempranillo, but I think Southern Italian grape varieties we do.
If you want to
well
go
too.
Texas wine, what you're saying,
Yeah.
trust what? If you had like a pecking order, trust Viognier?
I would trust brands more than I would trust grapes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would trust wineries more than I would trust the grape because what's consistent I've found is no matter what they're planting, if the winemaking isn't good, then they're not going to produce good stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you find them how? Just go to different vineyards and have
You gotta
tastings?
try them out. You got to taste them. You got to see for yourself. And I think that's the best way to do it. I wish I had a catch-all like California has Chardonnay and Cab. I wish there was consistency, but because we're so wildly inconsistent across the board in winemaking and grape growing, then I can't say one thing for sure.
Hey, I'm here with John McClellan, I'm the creator and founder of Atx Hot Sauce. And when I say that you started this, maybe not screwing around in your kitchen, but maybe not that far removed from screwing around in your kitchen. So talk about the creation, the process, the dream that came out of the pandemic.
It's from Austin, from Texas. There's not a lot of hot sauces out there that are actually from here. There's a few great ones too. But, Frank's and Tabasco and some of these other ones, I want something that's Texan like me. It's different. And I think that's what Texas is a little bit about. That's what Austin's about. So that flavor first, without the vinegar, and then going into the heat after that, but not a blow your head off heat. If you notice, a lot of the hot sauces out there that you see are like Da Bomb or Death's Door, right?
Yeah.
And they're just supposed to blow your head off when you do it, when you taste it. Well, that's not the kind of hot sauce that I'm making. I'm making a hot sauce for the everyday person, for the condiment for every single day. And that's why the flavor first, heat second is so important, that you get those flavors, the nuances, whatever food that you're making.
All right, order a box now. It's atxhotsauce.com, atxhotsauce.com. What's a great wine trip?
Oh, like anywhere in the world?
Yeah.
Oh. I
want to go on a trip and I want to use wine as my excuse. And I got, 4 nights, 3 nights, whatever.
love this.
Thanks.
I'm going to give you local and then international.
Do it.
Ready?
Do it. Give local,
Yeah.
national, then international.
Oh, okay. The Texas Hill Country is second in wine tourism after Napa Valley. Did you know that?
Did not.
We get 2 million cars on Highway 290 every single year.
Wow.
It's enormous. So take Highway 290, start in Austin, fly in, take Highway 290, reach out to me. I'll give you my contact details on the best wineries that I think are doing great things and the ones with the best views, because let's be honest, we gotta have our views.
Yeah.
And then stay in Fredericksburg or stay in a little cabin out there and just keep exploring. It is so romantic. Got some great restaurants in Fredericksburg. You're going to fall in love all over again. The second thing for national, Willamette Valley, Oregon. Go do Portland. And what I love about Oregon is the fact that it's 30 minutes to Willamette Valley, to wine country. It's so easy to get there.
Those are Pinot Noirs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pinot, Chardonnay, Pinot Gris. Love Pinot Gris there. I think that's the grape that they're doing that, in the white category that's best.
Time of year?
Time of the year. Go in the early fall or late summer. Go during harvest.
Okay.
Because
I know everybody goes in the summer. I mean, I've been fishing up there. It's like, get out of here, tourists. Come on.
yeah, I went in the fall and I absolutely loved it. The leaves were starting to turn. It was a little bit more intimate because they gave me the time of day. So even after harvest in November, I had a ball, and the leaves turning colors on the mountainside, utterly magical.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah. And then
flying to Portland, head over. Is Napa a ripoff? Is that like Six Flags to you wine experts?
we like Napa. We like to go to Napa when we can get an in somewhere. If we know people, Napa's great. If you don't know people, Napa's very expensive.
Yeah.
Industry folks get free tastings and percentages off our bottles. We like to go to Napa.
Yeah, sure.
But if you're not an industry person, it's hard. You better have money for tasting. Some of them are $50.
Bang for the buck. You're saying Oregon is better. Okay. An international trip.
International trip, I would start in Lyon, France. Lyon is much more food driven than any other city in France. And it's touristy, but you have so many Michelin star restaurants and so many cute little places you can go get 3 courses for 30 euros. So I'd start there, and then I would take the train down and do Burgundy. You can do the Rhone Valley, so you can have, again, Chardonnays, Pinot Noirs. Farther south, it's like an hour and a half train ride or drive. You get great Syrahs. It's stunning, and the land changes so quickly.
I want to get into Syrahs more.
I want you to as well. It's my favorite red grape by far.
I just wish I knew more. I wish I trusted.
If you like Cab, you're gonna like Syrah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want you to branch out. Maybe tonight or the next night or this weekend.
Yeah. I'm by myself in the corner.
Or I'll bring you one.
Do that, please. Okay. So I need a starting point, because otherwise I'm going to end up in that default position. Headphones come on. Here comes the cab. Blah,
I know
night's
just
over.
the one.
Night's over.
I know just the one. Okay. You're going to love it.
What about Spain?
Spain.
What are your thoughts about Spanish wine? I had a Spanish wine kick, and then this running of the bulls thing happened to me, and then I don't know.
So
is that tricked up a little bit?
I have a question from Bill Joe Wise. It says, what are your favorite regions for value wines?
Okay.
And the first one I was going to say was Spain. Just kind of bringing that, I'm knocking out two birds, one stone, right? Yeah. Spain is fabulous, and it is known for variation. Spain is enormous, and you can find everything from really great Tempranillo.
Right.
If you like Cabernet, like go to Tempranillo too. Yeah. You can find really zippy whites. You can find Cabernet, and you can find international varieties. And the value is unbelievable. Yeah. I've found stuff from like 2005 for $20, or $30. It's ridiculous.
Is that a good specific shopping point? Is try to find some Spanish?
If you want to
get bang for your buck, I mean, because they do seem, they do feel underpriced. I don't know if that's true or not.
They're severely underpriced.
Okay.
I recommend that region. Wonderful value if you want to get into European wines. If you're like, man, I've been drinking locally, I've been drinking California forever, and you want to branch out to Europe, great place to start because it's warm enough to where you'll like that as a California drinker. It's got a nice riper palate, but it's also still old world. So there's that. And then the second one I'd recommend is Chile. Chile, the land costs are so low that they don't pass that on to the customer. And again, great wines. I don't go for the bulk stuff like Concha y Toro. I love that for...
Is it easy to find a Chilean wine?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
It might be harder to find higher quality Chilean wines, but every single wine store worth their salt has Chilean wines.
There's a question on here, somewhere on here, about box wine. You just laughed at him.
It's truly...
You laughed at him.
They're truly good wine that comes in a box.
You just laughed at him.
I like this question.
Okay.
I just consulted on a boxed wine project. In fact, earlier...
All right, let's hear it.
Last year. Truly good wine can come in a box. It doesn't mean that it will. And let me tell you why. It's consumer perception.
Yeah.
You have to get over that hump. If I gave you... So there's about 4 bottles in a standard size box. So if I put $30 a bottle wine in there, and so I charged you $120 for that box, you would laugh at me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that the wine is bad. So truly good wine.
Wait, to his question, I mean, I don't even know. I think a lot of us are probably the same thing. We're just going to pass that section. They go, oh, that's cheap. You might as well beer bong or something. I'll get a keg or something like that. It's like a...
Precisely.
But wait, if you're telling me I can get 4 bottles in a box instead of paying $35 per for my whatever, my Dow or something, my Austin Hope or whatever it is I'm addicted to, you're saying it's better bang for your buck? Is the taste much different?
Average, yes, it's definitely different.
Okay.
It's bulk wine. That's all it is. So if you're charging, standard boxes cost $20.
Yeah.
So 20 divided by 4.
Yeah.
And you do the math, it's not.
Yeah.
And I do think there's one box wine company, Boda Box, that actually does win awards.
Okay.
And I've blinded some of my wine club members in the past on Boda Box, and I said, how much does this cost?
Yeah.
I love doing that.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
they said it was I think average price was between $50 and $80. Yeah, it was Boda Box Grenache. So check that out. Check out Boda Box.
Really?
Yeah, it's just the fact you can put premium wine in a box. It can be done, but will the consumer pay for it?
Right.
So that's
but you're
why
saying
no
to
one's
answer
doing
his
it.
quick question, if he's got 15 minutes in a store,
Yeah.
chances are, even though he would love to try the box thing just to be different, chances are it's not going to be any good.
It depends on what you define as good, right? And there's a way for me to tell what good wine is, but I have to go through an entire grid and process to determine that.
Yeah.
Whereas you might taste it and have a different perception of what good is other than me. So who am I to say what's good and what's bad? It's up for you to taste it and determine whether you like it.
Yeah, but you can give guardrails to how to taste it. I mean, I think you're
That's
suggesting
true.
here, I don't know what his name is, that he just sort of leaned down and like sprayed out of the box while he's in the store a little bit.
Try a box.
joking.
Try a box for
He's leaning down, just drinking out.
like a spigot.
Yeah, it's like
Actually,
a spigot,
when
yeah.
I was young, I used to take out the bags because they're bag and box. So there's a bag in the box, and you put it on your shoulder and you slap the bag while you're in the pool. That was what
So
we.
you just kind of hook it up to the mouth
Yep.
a little bit while you walk?
Yeah,
like
dude,
one of those camelbacks?
I was 20 years old. That's what I did. It was black box. It was great.
What other is a good question here before we're done?
I like the aerator question.
Yes.
Are
The stuff,
expensive-
all the stuff. Like
Aerator's really that much better.
explain
from Todd.
aerators.
Yeah. Aerators we've seen are those little gadgets. They look like little pods where you would pour the wine into this contraption and it would put oxygen through the wine and then there'd be a glass underneath to catch it. We know what aeration is. I think most of us who are drinking wine. And are expensive aerators really that much better? You know, I think I explain aerators versus decanters, which are those big like crystal vessels where you pour. They look like vases.
Do those work?
Yes.
Okay.
And
do get a decanter.
To me, decanting versus aeration is the difference between baking and microwaving your food. Sometimes it's better to bake it to really make it crispy or more flavorful versus, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
So I think if you're in
no.
a pinch, aeration is great. But if you have 15 minutes to decant your wine, or even if you don't have a decanter, put it in a glass. Have you noticed that a glass is the shape of a mini decanter?
Mm-hmm.
Like put it in there, let it sit for a few minutes, swirl it a bunch. And I think that you don't have to spend $50 on an aerator.
Okay.
I really
but
don't.
Those decanters,
Yeah.
cheaper is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't have to be crystal. It
Okay.
can be a vase. I don't have.
Just
Very
pour it into
fancy.
something to then pour it into something else is all that matters, correct?
Yeah, as long as that other vessel isn't tainted or soapy
Well,
or whatever.
yeah.
But obviously, yeah.
Pour it out
I
of
think
a
it's
boot
fine.
or something.
Yeah.
You just put it in your shoes.
A coffee cup. Yeah, whatever you have, I
Okay.
think is completely fine. And I'm trying to save you money because some of that is just
Yeah.
BS. And the same thing with the things that take out sulfites in wine.
Is that BS too?
I can't. talk
Wait,
about
what's happening? You're upset about it?
I'm upset about it.
Okay.
It's just
Well, vent.
it's taking advantage of people and their misconceptions about or their perceptions about
Is
what
that
is
BS? Is the sulfites
Yes.
thing BS?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And also sulfur, unless you have an actual allergic reaction, and it's mostly people who have asthma, you do not get headaches from sulfur. That is a total myth, and that was propagated by the health industry. It was spread around by doctors. No, that is not. And there are more sulfur. There's more. There's a higher concentration of sulfur in a few pieces of dried fruit than there is in an entire bottle of wine. So if you are sensitive to sulfur, you would know from a very early age that fruit bothered you, and then you'd go investigate that.
Okay. All right. What about bottle openers?
Yeah.
Does it matter?
No, I mean, whatever gets the job
Yeah.
done. Like we do.
I've seen those machines where they just stick them up, and it off the wall. I thought that was always kind of cool.
Are you talking about
You stick the
big-
bottle in there.
standalone
Yeah,
things?
yeah.
Yeah, those are cool.
Are those
It's not going to
expensive?
influence the way. Yeah.
It just seems like if this is a me problem, but if I had access to stuff like that and it was easier to drink,
Yeah.
like be careful about buying too many bottles at one time.
I will say, and I know that I said that there's no judgment in the wine industry, or there's no judgment
Here
coming
comes
from
some.
me, but
Yeah,
there's
it's coming. I can
there's
hear it.
judgment in one specific wine opener. So we
do it. Let's hear it.
There's actually like a stigma about this wine opener. We know
this is a deal breaker with you. I can tell.
It's not a deal breaker.
You're a loser kind of thing.
It's not a deal breaker.
It is. It's coming out.
You know those wine openers that they have the arms on either side and they have the corkscrew in the middle?
Oh, damn it.
Those are so hard to use. I hate using those things. First of all,
it is a nightmare.
It is awful to use. Why are you using it's easier to use those waiter's corkscrews
line
than
up
this.
a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Can you just soften this a little bit?
I'm sorry. Okay, so if you have one of those, it's fine. It's not going to influence the way your wine tastes. But I'll leave it at that.
But you just look like a doofus.
We know automatically that you don't know as much about wine. There seems to be a correlation between what you know and what wine opener you use. And I think it's fine. It's not like it's totally fine, but I personally just hate using them, and that's why I'm like, God,
the damage is done. Okay, you've already made your point.
I'll bring my own wine opener.
You might as well just say dork. Meathead,
That's
loser.
not what I said. But I do carry my own wine opener for that reason.
Okay, what's a cool wine opener? What is a easier? Just give me an easy to use wine opener.
A waiter's corkscrew.
Because I have that. I'm going to own it. I have that thing.
I know. Most people do. But it's so hard to use.
It is.
And
but
if you want to go through that
that's
trouble,
like if a crack pipe was easy, I would do too much crack. It's like there's a method. I need it to be hard. It needs to be a struggle.
No.
Let's go.
It should be easy because you're getting into the good stuff once you get into it. Get a waiter's corkscrew. It's infinitely cheaper.
What does that look like? I don't know what that is.
It's just like that.
The little ice pick thing you stick in there?
No, not an ice pick. It's literally a corkscrew, and it's tiny. It's compact. It's what the waiter takes out to open your wine. It's smaller. They're not bringing out that little army thing to open your wine. It doesn't.
It's gone.
I know. I'm sorry. So there's that one, and then there's one that I hate to admit that I really like. It's one of those sharper image ones where you press the button. It's like a sleeve, and you put it over. You press the button.
Those
and
are awesome.
They're awesome.
They're awesome. I had
hate
one.
That I like
it was a
them.
gift. That is a great gift.
I hate that I like them.
Why?
I
What's
love
wrong
them.
with you
I don't
right
know
now? I
because
don't
it's like zzz, zzz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really.
You don't like this? It's like too new age.
No, I really like it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Is that
I think those are a good gift. I had one
They're
time,
great.
and then I had to go to the leg thing.
Yeah, they're don't throw that thing away. But the problem with those
it stands up, so people don't know. I don't know where else you get them besides sharper image.
Yeah.
It stands up and you go zzz, and it sucks it right out of there.
Don't use them for really old wine.
Ready to drink.
The cork can crumble if the wine is very old. So that's the only issue with those.
Yeah,
is you would only use that for younger wines.
Okay. I'm trying to think of any others out there that are.
What else?
What about sniffing the cork?
Oh, yeah. I love this question. Okay. Don't ever sniff the cork. Yeah. We automatically know that you don't know anything about wine when you sniff the cork.
Well, what does anyone even think they're doing anyway? I've always wondered that.
They think that they're sniffing for cork taint. And cork taint is a bacteria.
Like licking it or something?
No, it smells like wet newspaper, wet dog. Not wet dog, but wet cardboard.
Wet dog.
Yeah, it does. And cork taint is less and less common, and it's really hard to smell cork taint on an actual cork. You actually have to smell the wine and taste the wine. That's why they pour you a sample whenever you ordered a bottle. It's actually not to determine whether you liked the wine. Historically, it was to determine whether there was a fault in the wine. So, if you don't like the wine in a restaurant and you want to send it back, it's still within your right to do so, but just know that it wasn't about that in the first place. It was a way to assess whether there was a fault.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but don't smell the cork for the love of everything.
Yeah. I think that only happens on a date at Chili's.
I've seen it. I used to work service, and 40% of the dudes.
Did you ever just say, look, jackass?
I want their tip, bro. I'm not going to tell them what they're doing is wrong and embarrass them in front of all their friends.
Okay, yeah.
You can't.
I just feel like that's a Chili's thing.
Can't embarrass alpha males whenever they're paying.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. That's some judgment there, but that's okay.
No, there's no judgment. There's no judgment at all.
There's nothing to be gained by holding the cork, sniffing the cork, rolling it around, whatever.
There's nothing to be gained. And the second thing there's nothing to be gained about is swirling the wine and looking at the legs. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think
Stop
everyone
doing
who's
that.
done like the entry level wine class has heard about the legs. And I've done one of that myself. Who cares?
Stop doing it.
Okay.
Let me tell you why. The
legs are what? The little shape made along the glass, correct?
When you swirl the wine, yes, it's that ring around and then the tier. They're also called tiers. It's when these tiers start to fall. And normally the more viscous the wine, the thicker the tiers are. Now, viscosity has to do with two things: sugar or alcohol, or both. So the higher the alcohol or the higher the sugar or the higher the alcohol and sugar together, the more viscous the wine will be. Now, what's interesting is that has nothing to do with quality. So if you're like, wow, nice legs, I don't care because I haven't tasted the wine. It could be crappy wine and you could just be, you're just looking at it and not really telling me anything, you know? So that's another thing. Stop talking about the legs, please.
Okay. And even looking at them, right?
You can read the alcohol percentage on the bottle and be like, oh, 14% it'll probably have.
Why when I order a bottle, why show me the bottle?
Oh, because they want to determine whether that's what you ordered. You really should read the label.
Yeah.
I've seen this many times. Now, this is interesting.
I mean, has anybody ever say, no, you idiot, that's not the wine I
have
bought?
before,
Okay.
yeah, because it wasn't the wine and because they actually had the wine on the list for a different year than what they presented me. Now, I might have ordered something older or younger, and they're trying to pawn off a different price. I mean, it would be a different price at a different year. So I'm very conscious of that.
Okay.
And
So you're saying for the consumer, hey, actually when
Pay
they walk by
attention.
and say, is this, take a look. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
What about upselling? Guilty?
I love upselling. Everyone should always be upselling. I'm a sucker for upselling because I know what they're doing and because I love that. I love it so much.
Then guilty. You're guilty of upselling.
Of course, I'm in sales. Yeah.
All right.
At
least we don't know.
And I know I'm astute enough to recognize it, but I always want people to make their money.
But I think a lot of people that want to go out, that know enough. There's something that feels good about you are inherently skeptical that you're being upsold.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel good when somebody says, Daniela says, not Jeff, that stuff's crap. You got to get the $12 glass. Here's why.
I'll do that too.
Okay.
You have to get them to trust you before you're doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the good point. Is if I was ever waiting tables or if I'm interacting with a customer because I'm in wine sales, say, hey, this vintage, it's not drinking that well right now. And you picked something because you thought it was older. To be honest with you, the older that wine got, the worse it got. So you might want to back it up a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I might be saving them money. I just don't want them to get a bad impression about the wine.
No, I mean, I think from the consumer side, I think it's almost something we should seek out is what's the banter back and forth? I mean, how helpful is this person? Because once you get there, you get where you start to trust somebody. It's really good stuff. You'll find that more times than not, they're right. And if you don't like it, that sucks. Let me try that. And I don't know, I found that's good service.
Agreed, 100%.
A Q&A on testing their credibility is good service.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that is something to be said if any servers are listening, to be not brutally honest, but say like, hey, this is tasting really great right now. And, this isn't my favorite thing. Or say it in a way that is jovial. It gives you credibility. It makes people feel comfortable that you're a human and not just a robot serving them.
Yeah.
And then people will remember you and start coming back.
Yeah. No, I I found that. I find myself going to places, some of the places where I gamble far too much, but I find myself gravitating them because I know if I sit down, I know the back and forth, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And I mean, I trust that more than anything else.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great work. Thanks.
Thanks. This is fun.
Yeah. Good job.
Did you have a good time?
I did. Well, I mean, I feel like garbage now, truthfully, because I have that thing. You said you started the whole segment, no judgment. And then you told that loving story about Tinder. I thought, well, this is going well. Then I got outed on that thing. And
I think you're worrying about what I'm thinking too much.
Yeah, I am.
Because I'm not judging you at all.
I know. Well, you did. You said you're kind of a dumbass.
I
You have one of those. But other than that, it was
I word
perfectly
for
cool.
word said that. Now, after everything that I said that was really kind, you're just going to take that
I
home.
know.
And you're
Well,
gonna be
that's
like,
just typical
"Give me that
paranoid guy thing.
Wine opener.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Gotta
gone.
get rid of it.
No,
Gotta get rid of
I've
it.
already sent a text to my neighbor. Go in there right now, open that drawer, and throw a piece of trash out. Get it out of there now, man. I suck. I'm a loser.
Well, now I know what to get you for Christmas.
Yeah.
The new one.
All right. So tell people how to get a hold of you if you want
Yeah.
them to inundate you with questions.
Yeah. So I have a website, an Instagram, and a Twitter that are all exactly the same, which is helpful. And that is Daniela Masters Wine. So the website's danielamasterswine.com. Instagram, Daniela Masters Wine. Same with Twitter. And I've already gotten some questions on DMs. If you have any questions that you want to hear, please get a hold of me on those social media outlets.
Yeah.
Twitter is probably the best outlet, but I definitely answer Instagram and I'm on a lot more. And yeah, that's my spiel, really.
Yeah. Good. No selfies by a bunch of dudes. Okay.
No selfies.
Yeah.
No
All right,
dick
good.
pics, please.
Oh.
I haven't gotten one in a very long time.
Yeah, okay.
Please don't ruin my streak. It's been really good.
Okay, well, the podcast comes out at 2:00 today. That's the final note. Words to Live by Daniela.